Hello, welcome to this video on the energy problem, the Peter solution. This is part B. It's called the solar collector, and it's just an add-on from part A, which was the introduction that you might have seen a few days ago. I didn't think I'd be making this video so quickly, but a few things have just popped up that in the last few days that have changed everything. So I think I'll have to talk about them. Is firstly the Fukushima radiation problem. It looks like its word is now that it's actually entering the Pacific Basin, so that's going to be quite an issue. And we've just had a really big, we had some news that one of our big brown coal fire station, coal-fired power stations in Victoria, a place called Hazelwood, is closing down at the end of March. So that is a big issue to the coal industry and our electricity generation here in Australia. Because of the unique location of Hazelwood, it proposes a new concept to the solar collector. I have a few variations of the solar collector, and one of them is, as I talked about in the first part, which part B, is unique to the desert and heavy sunlight areas. But also have another solar collector, which is based on just a floating, I guess a floating parabolic dish collector. And the location Hazelwood is a perfect location for this new solar collector I had designed. Also, in this area, Hazelwood is a large able cut brown coal area, which it has a huge sort of area around the generator. The generator is very old, around in the 60s, so it's a 4 chimney stack version, quite common. They're all closing down now, they're falling to bits, but the generators are up to speed. So just this area here, this large area, is very apt for the new solar collector. So also the township around has a very large engineering resource with the staffing there, which I'd hate to see that all go. So I'll just move on now to our solar collector. Just before we go into the solar collector, as usual, I slip in a little bit of theory. Basically, this is quickly, on 1 square metre of the Earth, which is roughly the size of this whiteboard, which is 900 by 700 millimetres, before the atmosphere of the Earth, 1300 watts of energy per square metre land on the Earth from the Sun. After it goes through the atmosphere, we end up about 1000 watts per square centimetre. Now, of that 1000 watts landing on a square metre, roughly half of it is in the infrared spectrum, and the other half is in the visible light spectrum. Now, this is what basically solar panels, photovoltaic solar panels use to generate light, to generate electricity, and the infrared section is roughly where the things like hot water systems and that will generate. So if you look just at rough calc, there's roughly 500 watts here and 500 watts here of our energy that are available. Now, there's very few systems that actually can combine both to absorb the infrared and the visible light, but that's not a part of this forum, so we won't talk about them. What we're interested in is the IR section, the infrared spectrum. The basic design of my solar collector is a floating parabolic dish. They're roughly 100 metres in diameter and can pull in 2.5 megawatts of thermal energy. Each solar collector is in a floating pond, which allows it to track the sun. There's several methods of collecting and transmitting the energy, but typical in this Hazelwood application would be like a reflective mirror array to send it to a central collector. So the collector floats, tracks the sun, can tilt on any angle, and floating ballasts inside it actually allow it to track. They're very easy to make and cheap to make, so that's the basic principle of the array, the solar collector. And right, just a little bit more theory on that Hazelwood site. As I said before, it's just perfect for the new solar collector. The site is comprised of several hectares, and it could accommodate easily thousands of these or hundreds of these solar collector arrays. If we look at the solar collector arrays, they're in clusters of 4. Each solar array is aligned with collector is aligned with one of these photonic crystals to increase the efficiency, and the whole 4 reflect into a central collector, which either collects molten salt or heats that copper ingot that you've seen before. They generate typically 10 megawatts per cell, and the cells are aligned in a way that they can be vehicles can move up and down them, and they can be serviced. They can either collect the molten salt and pump it directly to the solar generator, the power generator, or they can store it in the ingots as before for the nighttime use. Again, I'd hate to see this Hazelwood site totally be dismantled without setting up an experimental site with at least building one of these collectors, so we could pump some molten salt into the generator before they decommissioned or scrapped and the site bulldozed. So hopefully I can get this out to someone who might be interested. So anyway, thanks very much for watching this video.